Welcome to Keiser Voices, the story of success, brought to you by Keiser University Graduate School, here where the academic world meets personal triumph. Join us today as we dive into the captivating tales of success.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Keiser Voices, but this is not just any episode. This is our 100th episode of Keiser Voices. So cue the celebration sounds, confetti, the balloons drop. Just imagine all of that happening. And we're so excited to have this conversation about where the voices have become a direction. And joining us officially on camera is our producer, Miss Adriana Lovo. And our special guest is none other than Vice Chancellor Charlie Parker, who's also, in his spare time, a podcast host as well. So, Mr. Parker, thank you for joining us.
Charlie, please.
So we're super excited for this episode. But we have questions. I mean, we still have questions. We have questions for you. We're looking ahead to the next 100 episodes, we hope. I mean, we hope we hit that mark too. But, you know, from your perspective and having experienced podcasts yourself, and even in your current role with enrollment management and marketing, what does reaching 100 episodes of Keiser Voices represent to you, and even taking a look at the university as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't stop. I mean, that's the first thing. I think a lot of people, do a couple shows, they get discouraged and they don't stay consistent. So first off, my hat's off to both of you. I mean, great job staying consistent. You will get to another 100. But I think this is the new medium. I mean, this is the new way people are consuming information, be it social media or also, with podcasts and YouTube and Spotify or even on Apple and things like that. So it's the now, you know what I mean? And no, I think what you have done is impressive. One, it's perseverance. Two, and I think it's cool to highlight people because one thing that I've always said, Heather, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this too, but I never have believed the people, like the system or the company or like Keiser University makes the brand. It's the people that make the brand. And I think that's what you illustrate over the past 99 shows and what you will illustrate over the next 100 shows. So really, congrats on that.
It's always interesting. I don't think people understand, and we've kind of referenced it in other episodes. Like, there's a lot of planning that goes into the episodes. Ms. Lovo does a lot of deep diving. We try to reach out to people who we think will be meaningful, who can add to the conversation. And there's always that, was this the right choice? Were those the right questions? Was that the right guess? But I think, and Adriana can correct me if I'm wrong, but I tell her after all these episodes, I walk away feeling like I got a free class. I've learned something in that moment, in that conversation.
Yeah.
You mentioned storytelling. How do you think that's going to help shape the way that, outside community members, at large connect with the institution? Because not every institution has a podcast.
Yeah. Well, more do now. You mentioned our little humble podcast, and just by way of information, the way we started is we were spread out over the U.S. domestically, and we couldn't really keep a continuity or training transparency with one voice, like one truth voice, kind of down to the other campuses throughout the U.S. So we just started doing training videos. And then we were like, hey, wouldn't this be fun if we brought on campus presidents? So we brought a couple of campus presidents, and then it was like, wouldn't it be fun to bring on some industry people? And then all of a sudden we had a podcast. So we kind of fell into it. And I think for a university, especially ones that are doing it now, it shows the cool table. It shows the personality. Like a school, every school is not for everybody. Would you agree with that? You know what I mean?
Sure.
But I would say what podcasting can do, it can say, okay, who am I going to rub shoulders with? Are they like-minded like me? What's the lifestyle like? What's the, atmosphere when times are tough, or how they think? Because when you ask me a question, you're getting a real answer that is quote unquote not canned or not part of a script or something like that. So the word authentic comes out in podcasts. It gives an authentic appeal. And I think for me, there's something called mid funnel, right? You got top of funnel, as you work down the funnel and you got new inquiries, goes all the way to starting school. And for me, I believe that a system's biggest opportunity is in the mid funnel area, which is the organic, which is the social media. Adriana and I talk about this all the time, showing the lifestyle, not in class or a program, but them drinking a pop on a bench with their friends or them out in the world. That's what people gravitate to and say, hey, that's who I want to hang out with. But the easy example, Heather, when you're looking at mid-funnel is learning what resonates with the audience that you believe is appropriate for your school population, and then letting them know that they're accepted, they will fit in, and that they have a safe place of people that are similar to them for their outcomes, if that makes sense to you. So that's what I feel like it does. It gives that authentic kind of representation of life, not just going to class, but you're also spending 2/3 of your life during your time at college. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And not 2/3 total, but 2/3 of that time of school, you're there.
I think we've had a lot of great stories shared, and there are some moments that happen off camera that get edited out for various reasons. And we were kind of talking about this before it starts. We talked about blooper reels, but like, when we ask people to come on the podcast, they don't know what to expect. They're nervous. We had an episode a couple of weeks ago. The gentleman, we had 2 guests from student services. They're like, we were so nervous, but it was so easy.
Yeah.
And then you start these conversations and people just start sharing their stories. You're giving them a voice, and even if it's advice or their perspective, it's very impactful to hear that, like you said, that honest conversation come out of them.
Yeah.
Do from your experience, those type of stories matter to people?
I think, honestly, I think they matter most. I mean, if you figure, you take Rogan, who's the #1 show again in 2025, and some other shows, they're 3.5 hours. I mean, it has to be pretty engaging for someone to sit there for 3.5 hours. What we tried to do is a half hour, and we would do like 5-second sound bites as teasers, right? So in order for someone to stay engaged, it has to be something they want to be engaged with, right? And Heather, you're a big part of that. Like, as a host, how you sit, how you smile. Do you have fun with it? Do you make fun of yourself? We were talking before this, Heather, and I'm a big proponent of not editing. I'm a big proponent of just pushing the show out as is. Now, editing sound bites to get some people that wouldn't otherwise listen to it to say, hey, that was kind of cool. I want to listen to the rest of that. But I also like the non-edited side, like being human and screwing up. So I think you are a big credit to that storytelling philosophy, or why someone would want to listen to it. And I think you do a great job of it. But I also think everybody matters. Every human being has something to share. It is not true for anybody listening. You can never look at yourself and think that you don't have anything to share. Your unique perception, which you own, your own perceptions, your reality, right, is worthy of sharing. Now, where we come into some conflict is how it's shared, right? Is it monotone? Do they laugh? Are they too nervous where they stifle their real personality versus a kind of facade personality because they're so nervous? That is, again, where, Heather, you come in as a host to help them with that, to make them at ease, like you did with me. You may not realize this, but just spending 10 minutes just shooting around, not recording yet, helps it put at ease, and it allows me to share what I think I want to share in a very safe environment. So, man, I think everybody from any walk of life should be on a podcast because they have something unique that the host needs to pull out of them and talk about.
This all started an idea to bring something unique and some innovation to Keiser University Graduate School, but it turned amazing. At the end, consistency was the key to making it work. We started 2 years ago, and it has been a long journey that honestly went by really fast.
It does.
we've gone through a lot of changes. For example, at the beginning, we didn't even have a host.
Oh, Heather? Wait a minute.
No.
There was
Yeah.
Heather?
There was no Heather. So I was the first person to do a theme podcast.
Yeah.
So Dr. Robert Keiser kicked off the very first episode with the history of the institution. And then I kicked off like the actual first month theme, which was leadership. And I have never went back and watched that video. I don't want to go back and watch that podcast.
But you learned from it, right? Even you're learning from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I took a
So
lot
can
of
I
it from
share
it.
something with you guys that's kind of cool because of what you guys have done? And I will say, Adriana, 2 years, most podcasts, I think it's the first couple that they fail. Like there's a lot of people who try this and they just don't have the wherewithal. They're worried about their impressions. They're worried about their viewers. Who cares about that? This should be something you love, and over time it'll happen. You know what I mean? So there's that. So hats off for you in the perseverance and swimming upstream almost to some extent. But because of you guys, we're going to build here a Keiser network. So, you got news networks, you got different shows on news networks. So we're building Keiser Podcast Network, so KPN. And under KPN will be all the shows that we have. We've got golf podcasts, right, Heather? We got Keiser Voices that you guys have. We've got what, 5 or 6 podcasts that are out there, and they will be now under the KPN network that we can amplify even more so people know, not just your audience that's going to see it. Now people are like, oh, wait a minute, I like this podcast. Let me check this other one. That's Keiser, right? Or part of the KPN network, the Keiser Podcast Network. Because we at Keiser, 26,000 people walking the halls at any given time, right? 100,000 plus graduates. I mean, we should be shouting that from the rooftop. And Heather and Adriana, you're the start of that. Over the last 2 years, did you ever think you're going to have your own network, Keiser Podcast Network?
I've been waiting for somebody to say like, y'all aren't cutting it. Like we gotta cancel the podcast. I still wait for Adriana to message me like, we've been canceled. Nobody wants to come on it. Nobody's watching it. So like I still wait for that conversation to happen.
No, but that would make you good. Like Robert and I did a podcast a long time ago and chat with Charlie. We really didn't even know each other that well, but he came on the show and he said 2 things that were really interesting. The first one was what you just said, channeled right makes a human better because you're always looking to progress because you're always worried about the rug pulling out from under you. Now, it can have negative returns too if you're not careful. That's why you have to do it right. So that's a good feeling to have, Heather, I think, because it makes you better. The other thing that we were talking about and cutting up is people that have had nothing or have had to get somewhere on their own for it. Those are the people to be scared of. Those are the people that are hungry. They're going to do what it takes to get to that finish line. They're going to do the things that it takes to learn it and not waiting to be taught it, if you get what I mean. Mm-hmm. And so those qualities, I think, Robert would agree with this when he listens to this, because I know he's a listener. Robert would agree with you. Listen to it is those 2 things. One is you got to be careful with the people that are hungry. Because you can't sit on your laurels and just be satisfied in this day and age, so to speak, especially with podcasting. And then 2, the quality you just said, Heather, is admirable. And that's what makes you into who you are, not only for Keiser on what you do on your day job and the great work you do, but also what you're doing in podcasts. So that's a really good quality, Heather, and I commend you for even saying that. So.
Did you ever have a moment on your podcast when you really felt like, hey, like I made a difference?
God, I've got such an ego that I think I make a difference. Like I feel like I'm kind of a big deal. I'm just joking. People don't know my humor either, so they have to get to know me. It's been from the guests. I've learned like my approach, and I'm going to flip it on you a little bit, Heather. I'm going to interview you for a second.
Uh-oh.
No. I'm saying when I interview people and you tell me what you think, and Adriana, tell me what you think. I interview people because I'm naturally interested in what they have to say. So when the presidents were talking about their lifestyle and how they got into education management or leadership or why they're with us. I was genuinely interested. Like that was a real question that I wanted to know. Or like in marketing, how you do something like this mid-funnel thing or the stuff been learning about SEO. There's a guy named Rustam. He lives in Tampa. Shout out to him. Phenomenal guy that's been on my podcast before. I learned from him by the questions, right? There's a guy named Martin Durlack who's Generation Marketing in Canada. Learned from him. MDT Marketing, who I'm a big proponent of, learned from them. So I would say, and the question is, the way I think you should approach a podcast is by honestly asking a question, because if it's value for you as the host and the question asker, it's obviously going to be value to the audience that's listening to it. So that's what I think. I'd love to hear what you think, though, too, as a host, and Adriana, as being here for 100 episodes yourself for the last years, what you think.
You know, Adriana always comes up with these fantastic questions. Sometimes I follow them, sometimes I can't. You know, anytime we have some of biology, like I've said in a few episodes, biology has never been my subject. I don't understand it, but ugh. I do warn some of our guests, like I may not ask just those questions. I might have additional questions because sometimes it's for my understanding, you know, for me to better understand the topic, because, you know, we have this unique opportunity with the podcast to talk to people or interact with people in a way that we may not have otherwise. Like we interviewed the president of NAMI Broward County, and I don't know that we would have had an opportunity to have done it elsewhere. And then you talk about the students, like we've had some amazing students and alumni on that have these incredible stories that I really don't know if we would have had the opportunity to hear and learn from their experiences, and, you know, in some cases how they
talk to them just as a human being. You know, it gives you a cool opportunity to be like, daggone, we got some cool freaking people here.
Exactly. We want to make them feel good. For me, asking the right questions is the key. And even if we only impact one person with our episode, I think we achieve our goal.
And you're not doing this to get paid. You're not looking to get discovered. You know, you're doing this of your true, honest love for information learning and just meeting different people. And that's where it's, I think, you can sniff that out. Game knows game. There's podcasts out there. They want to monetize. They want to do these things, but it's seen. The ones that really are there to share information, it's prevalent. It's relevant, that type of thing. So anyways.
Yeah, I'll share it with you because I don't think outside of Adriana, I don't think anybody else knows this story. I mean, we could have been canceled. I go back to being canceled after Mental Health Month. And I think we would have chucked it up to like a huge success if we had been canceled. We actually had somebody who had listened to, we had the Alzheimer's Association on, and we had them talk about tips for caregivers, you know, because that's one area that you don't hear a lot about. I do volunteer work for Alzheimer's. So how do you support the caregivers, right? You know, we talk a lot about the Alzheimer's research and the person who's unfortunately experiencing that, but what about the people caring for them? And that was something that, you know, my family had experienced with both of my grandparents.
Yeah.
So we had them on, and the guest that we had, she went through like a list of suggestions and tips and what to do and understanding the difference in types of doctors. And so we had somebody who had listened to the episode. I mean, we assume people are listening to the episode. Do we know that they're actually listening? No, we don't know. Like, we have no idea.
You didn't even know I was listening.
No.
We talked, we were at our residential campus, and you're like, oh, you listen to those shows? You even looked like surprised. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, because we don't know. Like, we don't always connect with the audience. Sometimes we get comments, but we had somebody reach out to us to say thank you for that episode because their spouse was recently diagnosed with Alzheimer's and they didn't know what to do, and they followed the steps that we covered in the podcast with our guest, and they were just so appreciative of it, and they said that, you know, it makes a difference. It made a difference for them. So
Heather, that is huge.
Yeah, so that I had to share that. Nobody but Adriana knows that story, because as soon as I heard about it, I called Adriana to tell her, because again, we don't hear from our audience. Like you said, we're not looking, we know we're not going viral. I mean, maybe this episode will go viral. I don't know.
Yeah,
you know,
I'll try to do a good soundbite for you. That makes it.
But I think it's always been about, like, if we could help one person, whether that's the person sharing their story or the person listening to the topic. I think that's always kind of been that
Well,
underlining
because you're a good person,
goal.
Heather. I mean, it really, and I don't mean to say that like anybody that is listening. That is not something just to say. I mean, you're a good person. Adriana's a good, you can sense that. And just that one person, I mean, I would go to my grave thinking that's a huge victory in life, just helping that one person. So
No, totally. We were so excited when we heard that.
so cool.
I have a question for you, Mr. Charlie. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Just for the audience, this is the one who didn't want to come on video, and now she's got a question. Okay.
I feel the pressure. No, just kidding. But as the host of your own show, what have you learned over the years, and how has your experience as a marketing expert influenced the way you approach it? Because you're a host. I don't know if your audience knows, but you have your own show on YouTube. It's called Chat with Charlie. It's really good.
Yeah.
If you want to
The link
hear,
for it in the comments.
yeah.
Well,
we'll put the link.
show it, and just so we know, we're bringing it back. I just talked to these guys. We're going to do Chat with Charlie after hours because it's been dormant for a little bit. But we built our studio, Adriana, so we got a real studio now and everything. But I got to give some love too to Mark and Johnny if they do listen to this. They were at the previous institution. I tell you, Mark and Johnny, they were production people. They did a lot of the editing and a lot of helping me with it. So I got to give them a shout out. They made Chat with Charlie to what it became. We do have merch. So if anybody wants any merch, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we want.
And then Paulette Thomas Collins, who was a co-host of mine for a long time during that show. She made me so much better just as a human being and some of the subjects that we talked about. So I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about them, even though I will be taking the show myself now in an after hours format. But I'll tell you, two things I learned for sure is listening. I do have like most people in this kind of side of the business, an A-type personality. So I have a tendency to cut people off. I have a tendency to think about my answer and not listen to what someone's saying. So I will tell you, podcasting actually helped me throttle that a little bit. I did find myself listening better so I could connect better and ask better questions to lead the people that were on the show in a navigation way. So listening did help me. Even at my old dog age, it did help me. Kind of confidence, I would say, Heather, Adriana, I don't know if it did it for you, but it did give me some confidence. Like, hey, I'm not that bad at this, because it's normal. You're like, do I look bad? Do I sound bad? Do I put this out to the world? Do I look stupid? You're always self-conscious about it. I tell you what, I didn't care. So over time, I didn't even care. So that was kind of cool to learn over time. It does give you some sense of accomplishment when people recognize you. And they're like you're saying, Heather, I had no idea some of the people that listen to it, and I would go somewhere and they're like, hey, that's the Chat with Charlie dude. And they would talk to me. That was industry specific, of course, but it was kind of cool, right? It makes you feel like, hey, I'm actually doing something of value to someone else. Just like, this story about the Alzheimer's and things like that, you're giving to someone else. But I'll tell you the most important thing that I learned, probably doing podcasts, the absolute most important thing is what I said earlier, is everybody has something to share. I was so worried about when I first started, how many followers did they have and who were they to make my show better? When I said to myself, I just want cool people I want to hang out with, regardless of the other stuff, the show became better. So I would say that was the most important thing I learned, that I turned it from a selfish, let me leverage their 1 million followers and put them on so that I can maximize my audience and impressions and viewership, versus just hanging out with cool people. There's a gal, and I'm gonna give her a little shout out, Jen Lyles. She does a lot of things. She's tremendous on the social side. She sells jeans like crazy on TikTok, or dresses. Jen, I don't know what the hell you do, but you do something on TikTok and it's freaking cool. And just her personality and enthusiasm made the show. It wasn't what she said. It's just how she carried herself and how she put things in a macro wording so people gravitated to it. That was fascinating. That I wouldn't have realized if I was worried about the audiences, or not the audiences, the people that came on the show, their impressions or what they had to offer. Are they a C-suite person? I learned it didn't matter. Everybody's cool. Was that too long of an answer? But you get what I
No,
mean?
no, I mean, I think you have a valid point too. Like, I know what Adriana asked you, but I mean, you had a very valid point with, it's about that story versus the title. And I think sometimes it's easy to get, caught up in other things. And then so taking that minute, and I always tell students, and I don't know if you have a different perspective too. Like, we always tell students when we're like, come on the podcast, or write up, share your story. Like, your journey is not going to be the same as the next person, but there could be those underlining elements that connect with somebody that could impact them, and you just don't even know it.
Yeah.
And so hearing that is just, I think it kind of just reaffirms that like thought process on my end.
And we can forget too, everybody has friction to do something. Like you just coming on at, we're filming at 3:00 Eastern, but just coming on 3:00 Eastern, everybody has friction points, right? And I think this humanizes the human in a very informal setting that I find incredibly cool. I do. I think podcasting is the coolest tool ever. I do prefer video and audio. I'm not a big fan of audio podcasts. I think their day is done unless you're driving like me through Palm Beach to Fort Lauderdale, and all you got is audio. But I think seeing the mannerisms, seeing the smiles, me able to look at you and Adriana not being behind the camera, quote unquote, but being there is kind of cool. So hope you get what I mean.
Where do you think the next 100 episodes of the Keiser podcast will take us?
Yeah. Wow. I think you should stick to your guns and to who you are. I'd love to see Doc come on here. I'd love to see, Miss Morley, who's been around forever, or Ombudsman. Is it Ombudsman person? Is it which was politically?
Ombudsman.
So I can say, okay, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's your soundbite, Adriana. I didn't know if politically correct it was Ombuz person. I think you've got a lot of people to pull from. Even Craig, right? He's out there doing our sign right now. But they've all been around Keiser as an institution for so long. I mean, they know a lot of things that'd be kind of cool to hear and put in perspective. So I think stick to your guns, do what's made you successful, and wide, and make the audience the guests a little bit wider. I think you should do a live show. I think maybe at residency you should do a live show and bring people on that are here internationally, like globally and domestically. I think that would be a cool thing to put a feather in your cap and do a live one at the residency.
That would be fun. We keep talking about leveraging residency. We've talked about it a couple of times.
Yeah, just set up a booth, a table, and just do. I mean, it can be live but pre-recorded, right? But you could just bring, just grab some people for 5 minutes. Who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing here? Why? And just get them. I'm working on a campaign right now that I believe in solely. And so you guys are going to first hear it. So if you don't like it, like squint a little bit. So don't say you don't like it, but just squint at me. But I'm into this Turn Pro. There's Craig right there. I'm into this Turn Pro as a tagline. And Turn Pro means to me, if you take someone, like if you split me in half and you take someone on this half that's wearing like maybe preppy skater stuff or whatever. I'm just going out, right? I'm just a dude going out. And on this side, I have my scrubs on. Or it's a video morph of turning into what I'm going to become. But I really think that everybody is trying to do that. Everybody is trying to become something of a superhero in the workforce environment. And we at Keiser catapult that person in there. We don't do it for them. We are a tool to catapult them into their workforce endeavors. And so I'm working on this thing. It's Turn Professional, but Turn Pro, on taking who you are, kind of like I'm into butterflies, don't make fun of me. But you have the caterpillar, right? And then does the cocoon, which turns into liquid form and then turns into this beautiful butterfly. So you're turning from a caterpillar, which is still beautiful, some of them are freaking ugly, but there's some beautiful caterpillars. They turn into a cocoon, and then they're workforce ready, the butterfly, if you will. So I'm into this kind of campaign of what we're doing for the communities we serve after 48, we're going 49 years. 2027, we're going to be here 50 years. Dr. Arthur Keiser has done this for 50 years. I mean, really think about that. That's amazing. We have sports now, 29 or 31? I can't remember exactly. Championship rings. Women's soccer won the NAIA soccer championship. Football is in the semis. Who would have thought that from Keiser College or Keiser? Who was I can't even remember the first name. Keiser. I can't remember
Institute? Was it Keiser Career Institute?
I can't remember. We'll have to figure that out. And
I can picture the building.
Yeah. But think about that, where we've come, Heather. You were for that's evolved from one person going to class to 100,000 graduates. That's just incredible to me. So when you ask me about the podcast and where it's going to become in the next 100 episodes, man, you got a lot to pull from.
I certainly think so. I think, again, as long as we don't get canceled, humility that has to be there.
Come on now. Hey, another episode. Let's all go to Nicaragua and do a show in NI. San Marcos. We're on the beach in Nicaragua. How about that? That'd be fun, right?
It. Yeah.
Maybe have a live audience in Nicaragua with the staff there and do, Keiser voices and show our globalness, provider. That'd be kind of cool. Or maybe Spain. Let's talk to Robert about getting us and send us a production to Spain.
Keiser going on tour. You're going to catch us in a city near you soon.
Yeah.
There you go. See? So that was a dangerous question you asked me. But there's my answer.
that was kind of a rough question.
And at the end, Keiser Voices, it's for everyone. It's not only grad school. It's not only eCampus. It's for everyone. And that's why we now have our Keiser Voices, a Spanish version with the Latin division.
See?
I'm
learning Spanish. So
I was actually going to say the same thing, because it's been amazing. We had our first year and it's okay, well, how do we elevate and where do we go next? And we got very fortunate that the Dean of Academic Affairs for the Latin Division and the Associate Dean from the Associate Dean of the Latin Division were like, well, we want to join in too. We have this opportunity to share the same stories, in Spanish. Now, their podcast is done in episodes. So they do what's called monthly episodes. So they have seasons. But it's the same, they've been celebrating their 20th anniversary of the Latin Division. So they've been sharing these journeys of the Latin Division over the last 20 years with faculty and students and just, it's for, like Adrian, it's for everybody. And I think that's just so awesome. Fantastic. You may not like this month's episode, but you might take away something from the next month.
You always take something away, just the amount of it, you never know. That's why you got to tune in always. You never know what you're going to miss.
Absolutely. Well, Mr. Parker, Charlie, excuse me.
Wait a minute, we're ending. I got questions for you if we're ending.
Oh, no.
I want to ask you guys questions now. We're going to go chat with Charlie style for a second. Right. Okay. Heather, Adriana, what is, if I go to your favorite song right now as you're driving to work, what's the song? Come on, Heather, go. Tell me.
So I will say, I've been loving the song Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. My son's been watching that.
But it's K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah, but it's not their version. So it's not there's this indie songwriter. She's not backed by a label. Her name is Rain Paris. She does a rock version of the song, and it's that specific version I like. So I love the words in that song. The lyrics, if you take and actually read the lyrics, but it's a rock version of it that I like. So they did a very great job with that movie, but it's a rock version. It's a cover.
Okay, Adriana, you're up.
Well, I'm a big Shakira fan, but also I like Taylor Swift. And
oh my gosh, seriously, you just Taylor Swift this audience? Okay, Heather, you may get pulled. You may get canceled. No, I'm just joking.
I don't know. We might just have picked up a bunch of new viewers.
You may have picked up some Swifties. You'll have to do some background Taylor Swift, copyright aside, Taylor Swift behind it or something like that. Okay, next question. Favorite movie?
Ooh. Remember the Titans has always been one of my all-time favorite movies. I could watch that over and over again. But if you're looking for a newer movie, I really like the newer version of Twisters, to the point where my husband and my son are like, "You're watching it again?" I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. You cannot treat it like it's the original one remade, or it's more of a sequel. So you have to go into it with that mindset. I enjoy it. I can binge watch both those movies.
Fair. Adriana.
Nobody wants this. It's about
Nobody wants this.
Nobody wants this. It's really funny. It's a romantic comedy. So
a rom-com.
I know it's funny.
Last question before we go. Favorite food? If you could, you're Wilson, not Wilson. What's that's the volleyball. What's the movie?
Castaway.
Castaway. You see, you're on an island. You're castaway, but you can have one meal, but you have to eat it every day until you get on that raft and Wilson helps you get off the island. What would it be? What would that meal be?
Either mushrooms.
Mushrooms?
I love mushrooms.
I have asked that question a lot, and I will tell you, not one single person has ever said mushrooms.
I don't get sick of mushrooms. Like I could just eat them cooked, raw, whatever. They go with everything. But I would say, probably outside of that, like one of my comfort foods has always been like macaroni and cheese. My grandparents used to make it. So like, if you want to go comfort, like food, like a meal, but I would be very happy with mushrooms.
Mushroom. I'm gonna go with cheese and macaroni. I'm gonna leave it at that one. Mushrooms. We'll see. All right, Adriana, you've had plenty of time now.
Sushi. I like sushi and pizza.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, totally raw. Do you do sashimi or do you like the rolls? Or
I like the rolls. Yeah, the rolls.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thanks, Heather, for allowing me to flip the script on you a little bit.
No worries. So, thank you all for tuning in for 100 episodes. Thank you, Mr. Parker, for joining us on our 100th episode. Adriana for turning on her camera, because typically she is solely behind the scenes. Not many people get to interact with her. But, thank you all for joining us today, for sure.
Good job. 100 shows. Good job.
And if you guys have enjoyed this episode and hopefully the next 100 episodes, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow. And we're definitely catching you on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you for journeying with us today on Keiser Voices, the Story of Success. As we close this chapter, remember, every story has its next page.